بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد وبه قال حدثنا عمر بن حفص قال حدثنا أبي قال حدثنا الأعمش قال حدثنا شقيق قال جلس عبد الله وأبو موسى فتحدثا فقال أبو موسى رضي الله عنه قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إن بين يدي الساعة لأيام يرفع فيها العلم وينزل فيها الجهل ويكثر فيها الهرج والهرج القتل صدق الله العظيم اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد عدد ما ذكره الذاكرون وصل على سيدنا مولانا محمد عدد ما غفل عن ذكره الغافلون اللهم صل وسلم على عبدك ورسولك اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد أفضل صلواتك بعدد معلوماتك. Tonight inshallah we will continue from where we left off on the book, the chapter of trials and tribulations from the book of Imam Bukhari rahmatullahi alayhi, Shaykh Al-Bukhari. The hadith that we will start with inshallah is a hadith narrated by Abu Musa Al-Ash'ari radiyallahu anhu, who was from Yemen. He said that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, before the final hour, the word sa'a is the word that is used in the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam for qiyamah. The word qiyamah is a word that most of us are quite familiar with. So when we say the word qiyamah, what comes to our mind is the end of this world and the day of judgment, the day of resurrection, the day of reckoning, the day of accountability. Yawm al-Hisab, Yawm al-Deen, Yawm al-Jaza. These are the concepts that come to our mind. But the word that is often used for the beginning of this time is the word sa'a. Even in Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has used the word sa'a quite often. In Surah Hamim As-Sajda, it is said, the ayah states, إِلَيْهِ يُرَدُّ عِلْمُ السَّاعَةِ. To Allah returns the knowledge, the exact knowledge of sa'a. Now the literal meaning of sa'a is watch. Your watch is called sa'a in Arabic. But here obviously it is not what is meant. And by the way, sa'a, it is used in the meaning of watch now. It also means hour. Like we have minutes. So the word for minute in Arabic is daqiqa. And the word for hour in Arabic is sa'a. And in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the word sa'a was used for hour, not for watch, because watch did not exist during the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, nor did the clock. But when the word sa'a is used in a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, in the context of the day of judgment, then it refers to the final hour. It is a reference to the final hour in which the world will come to an end. So the world will come to an end before the day of judgment. The day of judgment will only occur once the world has come to an end, all the movement has stopped, all the life has come to an end, all the humans have vanished, all the humans have died, only then the day of judgment will take place, will be established. So the word Sa'ah can theoretically be referred to the whole series of events that will take place, but the final hour will be the beginning of that. But to be precise, it refers to the end of world, the final hour, the end of time, when the whole world will come to an end. Either it is going to be an apocalypse, as many theorists believe that there will be some event that will write the end of time, that will finish this world, that will bring the life on this world, in this world, to an end. So in theories, they believe it is either going to be a celestial event where either a comet will come and fall on earth, and by that the life on earth will come to an end, or they believe some supernatural event will take place that will be the end of life on this earth and the end of every form of life on this earth. Allah knows best. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has drawn some pictures of how the world will come to an end. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِذَا الشَّمْسُ كُوِّرَتْ وَإِذَا النُّجُومُ انْكَدَرَتْ. When the sun will lose its light. So the sun will go dark. And a glimpse of that event is shown to us from time to time in form of solar eclipse. Whenever solar eclipse occurs, it is a sign for us and a reminder for us for that time when the sun will lose its lights permanently. Its brightness, its luminosity will be lost permanently, and that will happen in the final hour. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إِذَا الشَّمْسُ كُوِّرَتْ وَإِذَا النُّجُومُ انْكَدَرَتْ. And when the stars will fall. وَإِذَا الْجِبَالُ سُيِّرَتْ. And the mountains will be made to fly. Have you ever heard of a mountain flying? No. But when the day of judgment will come, the mountains will fly. In Surah Al-Qari'ah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala draws another picture, Al-Qari'ah, that which will knock people out. It will be a huge knocking. Al-Qari'ah. Mal-Qari'ah. What is that knocking? وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا الْقَارِعَةُ. What do you know about that knocking? يَوْمَ يَكُونُ النَّاسُ كَالْفَرَاشِ الْمَبْثُوثِ. On that day, people will become like moths fallen onto the ground. وَتَكُونُ الْجِبَالُ كَالْعِهْنِ الْمَنْفُوشِ. And the mountains will become like woven cotton. It will become lightweight, like clouds. So they will fly. And when the mountains have been lifted from the earth, from the ground, then the earth will have no balance. It will have nothing to balance its weight. So the earth will become shaky, and that will cause the earthquakes. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that إِذَا زُلْزِلَتِ الْأَرْضُ زِلْزَالَهَا يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسُ اتَّقُوا رَبَّكُمْ إِنَّ زَلْزَلَةَ السَّاعَةِ شَيْءٌ عَظِيمٌ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us different pictures from different angles, from different perspectives, how the day of judgment will occur, or how the final hour will end the life and the world on this earth. So this is what it refers to. The day of judgment. The word Sa'ah refers to the final hour when the trumpet will be blown into and the sound will come from every side and every corner. And always pray to Allah that Allah don't make us live until the final hour. Why? Well, people like to live long and people pray to live a longer life. But always pray to Allah that, oh Allah, don't let me live that long that I find the time of the final hour. Because the final hour will happen in the time of those people who are the worst of all people. لا تقوم الساعة حتى يكون الشرار الناس أهلها. أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم, that the worst and the most evil people will be the dwellers, will be the inhabitants of this earth, and on those people the day of judgment will, the final hour will be established. Good people will be gone. So always ask Allah for protection. Always pray to Allah for protection, that don't let me among those upon whom the day of judgment will occur or the final hour will be established. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself used to make dua in different words as well, and the Sahaba used to make dua in different words as well. And they would not only make dua that, oh Allah, don't let me live that long, but they would also make dua that, oh Allah, don't let me be in that time and in that age, لا يتبع فيه العليم, that people are not following scholars and the people of knowledge. وَلَا يُسْتَحْيَا فِيهِ مِنَ الْحَلِيمِ, and people have no shyness and modesty even before the modest people, even before the forbearing people. So the final hour is something that is really full of events that are going to horrify people and that are going to fill people with fear in their hearts. So now Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did mention some signs that will happen before the final hour, and this hadith is a reference to that. Inna bayna yaday sa'ati la ayyamin, before the day of judgment, before the final hour, there will be days. Yurfa'u fiha al-ilm. In those days, the knowledge will be taken away. The most direct reference of this knowledge is the reference of religious knowledge. The knowledge of Quran, the knowledge of Hadith, the knowledge of fiqh, the knowledge of Sunnah, the knowledge of Seerah. The knowledge of Deen will be taken away. And how will that happen? The first sign of knowledge being taken away is when the ulama are taken away. Because the knowledge is there with the ulama. If ulama are gone from this world, the knowledge is automatically gone. It may still be there in forms of books, and now in forms of CDs, and now Google has made it to live forever. Internet has made the knowledge to live forever. So much knowledge is out there on internet. But is that knowledge really beneficial to mankind? Is that knowledge really a knowledge to guide people? That knowledge is with the presence and existence of ulama. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Inna Allah yaqbidu al-ilma biqabdi al-ulama." Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take away the knowledge of deen by taking away the possessors of the knowledge, ulama. So when ulama are gone, that means it is that prophecy that is being fulfilled, that the knowledge is gone. That knowledge may still be there in books, and that knowledge may still be there on internet or in form of digital media. But since the possessors of that knowledge are gone, so the knowledge will eventually evaporate and will vanish as well. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that will happen before the final hour, that the knowledge will be taken away from people. وَيَنْزِلُ فِيهَا الْجَهْلُ. And when knowledge is gone, what's left? Ignorance. Ignorance will prevail. Ignorance will replace knowledge because knowledge is lifted. وَيَكْثُرُ فِيهَا الْحَرْجُ. And killing will increase. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself explained, وَالْحَرْجُ الْقَتْلُ. The meaning of harj, which is the word word that he used originally, the meaning of that word is al-qatl, killing, murder, assassinations, mass murders, mass killings. All of that will increase. The next hadith is narrated by Abu Musa al-Ash'ari radiyallahu anhu again. He said that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Man hamala alayna as-silaha falaysa minna." Whoever raised a weapon against us or on us, he is not one of us. So if a Muslim raises a weapon against another Muslim, that Muslim is not Muslim anymore. That Muslim is not among the followers of Islam anymore. This is how direct this warning is from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam against those people who put a weapon against another Muslim. That they're not Muslims anymore. So this can give you a very clear-cut guidance on those people who are doing suicides or who are carrying out bombings in Muslim countries. They pretend that they're Muslims and they pretend that they're doing something in the name of religion, in the name of Allah, in the name of God. But here Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying he is not one of us. I wish people who are trying to do these things, they would look at the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and see their own fate in the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that they're destined for hell. They're not destined for heaven. They're not destined for paradise. They're not destined for a good place. They're destined for hell because they are not Muslim anymore. Man hamala alayna as-silaha falaysa minna. It goes even more specific. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in another hadith narrated by Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu, "La yushiru ahadukum ala akhihi bis-silah." No one should point with a weapon towards his brother. And by the word brother, it doesn't mean the real brother. Even though in one hadith Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in order to narrow the meaning, he said, even if someone is doing as a joke, no, you should not do it. And the joke is not against a stranger, because a stranger can easily be terrorized, and a stranger can easily be scared. But even if someone is doing that to his own brother, real brother, that is still a sin and that is still a crime. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "La yushiru ahadukum ala akhihi bis-silah." No one should point towards his brother with a weapon. And in some other hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used the word hadith, iron, anything that is made with a metal. And the weapons that are made with metal can include a sword, can include a knife, can include a machete, can include a gun, can include a pistol, a revolver, anything that is made as a weapon from any metal. You should not point that towards your brother at any moment, even if you're just trying to play with him, even if you're trying to make a joke with that, don't do that. It is a crime and it is a sin. So then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam went on to say, فَإِنَّهُ لَا يَدْرِي لَعَلَّ الشَّيْطَانَ يَنْزِعُ فِي يَدِهِ فَيَقَعُ فِي حُفْرَةٍ مِنَ النَّارِ. Because this person doesn't know that shaitan can make him slip at any moment, make his hand slip at any moment on the trigger, and the trigger goes off and the other person is gone. And then what happens? If you kill someone, what will happen to you? You will go in hellfire. فَإِنَّهُ فَيَقَعُ فِي حُفْرَةٍ مِنَ النَّارِ. He will be thrown into a pit of hellfire because he killed another person. And now, with a gun, you can see how easy it is to just pull the trigger. It doesn't take much strength. It doesn't take much effort to pull the trigger. So if someone is pointing a gun, not seriously, not in a threatening way, even if it is just a joke, if someone is doing that, that trigger can be pulled even by mistake, and when that happens, the bullet will go out, it will not stop, and whoever is in front of that bullet will be gone. And that has happened so many times. So many times it has happened in our world where people were either cleaning the gun or just trying to do some tricks, and the trigger was pulled and the person who was there was gone, was in front of the gun, was gone, died. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made so many warnings and instructed the Sahaba not to even carry a naked weapon inside the masjid or inside a public place. Masjid at that time was the public place, the most obvious public place. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that when someone is going to the masjid or even passing through the masjid, he should cover his weapon. Because an open weapon sometimes is a threat to other people. Sometimes is a warning to other people. And you're not allowed to terrorize people. You're not allowed to scare people. You're not allowed to put fear in the hearts of people by brandishing your weapon, by showing off your weapon. If you do that, you're violating the teachings of Islam. You're opposing the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you're opposing the teachings of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Idha marra ahadukum fi masjidina aw fi suqina." He even used the word market. When one of you is passing through our masjid or our market, wa ma'ahu nablun, and he has an arrow with him, فَلْيُمْسِكْ عَلَى نِصَالِهَا, then he should put his arrow into the cover. أَوْ قَالْ فَلْيَخْبِرْ بِكَفِّهِ, or Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, hold the arrow from its pointy, from his sharpie side, أَنْ يُصِيبَ أَحَدًا مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ مِنْهَا بِشَيْءٍ, because it is possible that if your arrow, the pointy side, the sharpie side of the arrow is either on the left side or on the right side, it can hurt someone, even by mistake. So this is how strict the warnings are from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The next is a hadith that is very important, and that hadith is narrated by Huzaifa bin al-Yaman radiyallahu anhu. He said, كان الناس يسألون رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عن الخير. People used to ask Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam about the good things, about salah, about zakah, about fasting, about Jannah, and about all the good things. وَكُنْتُ أَسْأَلُهُ عَنِ الشَّرِّ. And I used to ask Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam about the evil that is going to happen. مَخَافَةَ أَن يُدْرِكَنِي, due to the fear that it may overtake me. If you know about the things in advance, then you take precautions so you don't fall a victim to it. So Hudayfa bin Yaman radiyallahu anhu was that Sahabi who used to ask Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam about the evil, about the bad things that are going to happen. So here comes his questions. He said, I asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Inna kunna fi jahiliyatin wa sharrin, that we used to live in ignorance and in bad time. Our customs, our practices were all based on evil. فَجَاءَنَا اللَّهُ بِهَذَا الْخَيْرِ. Then Allah brought us this good. What was the good? Islam. So Allah brought us this good of Islam. فَهَلْ بَعْدَ هَذَا الْخَيْرِ مِنْ شَرٍ. So is there going to be a time of evil again after this good of Islam? قَالَ نَعَمْ. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam responded positively. He said yes. He replied affirmatively. He said yes. قُلْتُ وَهَلْ بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ الشَّرِّ مِنْ خَيْرٍ. So Hudayfa bin Yaman radiyallahu anhu again asked, so is there going to be a time of goodness after that evil? قَالَ نَعَمْ وَفِيهِ دَخَنْ. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said yes, but that time of goodness will be tainted. There will be some taint and some flaws in that goodness. قُلْتُ وَمَا دَخَنُهُ. Hudayfa ibn al-Yaman radiallahu anh did not understand what dakhan is, so he asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that, Ya Rasulullah, what is that dakhan? What is the tainting of that time? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam explained, he said, قَوْمٌ يَهْدُونَ بِغَيْرِ هَدْيِ تَعْرِفُ مِنْهُمْ وَتُنْكِرُ. Those will be the people of that time who will guide others not according to my guidance, not according to my teachings, not according to my sunnah. So you will recognize some things from them that will be good, and you will be recognize something from them that are going to be bad and evil. قُلْتُ فَهَلْ بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ الْخَيْرِ مِنْ شَرٍ. So Hudayfa ibn al-Yaman went further. He said, so is there going to be good after that evil? Or is there going to be an evil after that good? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Naam, yes. Du'atun ala abwab jahannam. But there will be people who will be calling others to the gates of hellfire. Man ajabahum ilayha qadhafuhu fiha. Whoever answered to them on their call, they will throw him in hell. Qultu ya Rasulullah, sifhum lana. Hudayfa radiyallahu anhu, he said, O Prophet of Allah, describe those people for us, so we can recognize them, we can identify them. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Hum min jildatina. They are going to have same skin as of us. They're going to be from us. They're going to be same color people. وَيَتَكَلَّمُونَ بِأَلْسِنَتِنَا. They're going to speak the same language that we speak, Arabic. قُلْتُ فَمَا تَأْمُرُنِي. So Hudayfa ibn al-Yaman radiyallahu anhu said, so Ya Rasulullah, what do you advise us to do if I find that time? If I live till that time, what should I do? Important question. What should be my reaction in that time? What should be my strategy during that time? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Talzamu jama'at al-muslimina wa imamahum." You stick with the group of Muslims, the larger, the greater, the mainstream group of Muslims, and their imam, their leader. So Hudayfa radiyallahu anhu said, فَإِن لَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُمْ جَمَاعَةٌ وَلَا إِمَامٌ. That, O Prophet of Allah, what if there is no imam during that time and there is no distinguishable group of Muslims? قال فَاعْتَزِلْ تِلْكَ الْفِرَقَ كُلَّهَا. In that case, stay away from all sects. وَلَوْ أَن تَعَضَّ بِأَصْلِ شَجَرَةٍ حَتَّى يُدْرِكَكَ الْمَوْتِ. And even if you have to bite tightly to the roots of a tree until the death comes to you, وَأَنْتَ عَلَى ذَلِكَ, and you remain in that condition. Meaning that you stay away from every sect, all sects. Don't get involved in any sect. This hadith is a very important hadith and has a lot of lessons for every Muslim. And the ulama have said that Hudayfa bin Yaman radiyallahu anhu is one sahabi who used to ask Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam about the warnings, about the bad things that were going to happen. Another sahaba used to ask Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam about the good things. And he himself explained the reason why he would ask Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam these questions. His reasoning was that I was afraid that if I didn't know the bad things, the bad times, the evil, then I might be overtaken by that. So I wanted to take precaution. I wanted to stay away from it. I wanted to know the proper reaction of a Muslim during those times. So that's why he used to ask Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam those questions. And then the ulama also said that in this hadith there is a lesson for teachers, that teachers should not only teach one lesson to all the people, to all the students. So if there is one student who's inclined more towards one subject, the teacher should focus on that subject more with that student than other subjects. So with other students, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to teach them about salah, about zakah, about akhlaq, about aqaid, about other things. And with Hudayfa radiyallahu anhu, his interest was more in fitan, in the bad things that were going to happen. So with him, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wouldn't mind, wouldn't tell him that, oh, why are you worried about that? Instead, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would realize that his interest is more in this field, so he would teach him more about that subject. Now coming back to this hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was asked that we're living in a good time. Now before Islam there were bad times. People were living in terrible conditions. People were living in jahiliyyah, in ignorance, with foolish customs, with foolish traditions, with foolish cultural practices, which were all bad, except a few. So Hudayfa bin Yaman radiyallahu anhu said, "Inna kunna fi jahiliyyatin wa sharrin." We used to live in bad conditions, evil conditions, and in ignorance. But then Allah blessed us with Islam. Now Islam brought us from that darkness into the light. Now his question was, should we prepare for a bad time again after Islam? So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, yes. So during the time of Sahaba, that time did happen. Islam came, and then Islam prevailed for a few decades, but then a time came of fights, wars, and the time of trials and tribulations, even during the time of Sahaba ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'in. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam predicted that is going to happen. And then Hudayfa radhiyallahu anhu asked, is there going to be good after that evil? So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, yes, there will be. And that did happen. After a few decades came the time of Umar bin Abdul Aziz rahimahullah. And in the time of Umar bin Abdul Aziz rahimahullah, everything went back to the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as it used to be during the time of Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu, during the time of Umar radiyallahu anhu. All the good things came back. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, وَفِيهِ دَخَنْ. But that time is going to be tainted. And the ulama said that dakhan is referring to hiqd, jealousy. And that attribute of jealousy, or that characteristic of jealousy, did exist in the hearts of people. Even though in general people were all good, but on some level people did have some jealousy in their hearts. And then he was asked, Hudayfa bin Yaman radiyallahu anhu said, وَمَا دَخَنُهُ. What is this dakhan and what is this tainting? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam explained, قَوْمٌ يَهْدُونَ بِغَيْرِ هَدْيِ تَعْرِفُ مِنْهُمْ وَتُنْكِرُ. That there will be people during that time who will be calling people against my way of life. And during that time there were Khawarij. Khawarij were the people who were calling people towards Islam, but not the Islam of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Not the Islam that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam left us with, not the Islam that he taught, not the Islam that he preached. So during that time there were Khawarij, and there were some other sects as well who were still calling people towards Islam, but not the Islam of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not the way of life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made a prediction of that, and that was considered the dakhan, that was considered the tainting. Then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was asked again, فَهَلْ بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ الْخَيْرِ مِنْ شَرٍ. Is there going to be an evil again after that good time? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, نَعَمْ دُعَاةٌ عَلَى أَبْوَابِ جَهَنَّمْ مَنْ أَجَابَهُمْ إِلَيْهَا قَذَفُوهُ فِيهَا. He said, yes, there will be good again, but again during that time of good, there will be people, there will be callers who will call people not towards heaven, not towards Islam, but towards the gates of hellfire. Du'atun ala abwabi jahannam. So it is a reference to that time in the 2nd century when there were some sects who were clearly misguided. And these groups of misguided people were debating and challenging the mainstream of Islam and telling them to come their way, come to their path, come to their preachings, come to their teachings and follow them. And if someone followed them, if someone follows a misguided person, a misled person, a dal, then where would he go? He would go to the hellfire. So that's what Rasulullah ﷺ said, Du'atun ala abwa'i jahannam. They are the people who will be calling others to the gates of hell. Man ajabahum ilayha, whoever answered them, listened to them, qadafuhu fiha, they will throw him in hellfire, lead him into hellfire. So then again, he said, Hudhayfah bin Yaman radiyallahu anhu, he said, Ya Rasulullah, sifhum lana. O Prophet of Allah, describe those people for us. Who are going to be these people? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Hum min jildatina wa yatakallamuna bi alsinatina. They are going to be people from us because their skin will be like us, their color will be like us, and they will be speaking our own language. They're not going to be foreigners. They're not going to be people coming from India or Asia or Africa. They're going to be Arabs speaking eloquent Arabic language, Fusha Arabic language, proper Arabic language. But they are not going to be on the right path, and they are not going to call people to the right path. And that did happen and still happens. You know, the people who are misguided and who are misleading among Arabs as well, they speak Arabic just like any other Arab. And in many instances, their Arabic is better than many proper Muslim Arabs. So one can easily be trapped into thinking that, oh, they can't be saying anything wrong because look at their Arabic. Their Arabic is so good. So for Ajam, for people who are non-Arab speakers, who don't speak Arabic, who don't understand Arabic, for many of us, we think that Arabic in itself is a holy language. So if someone is speaking Arabic, we think he is reading Quran. Even if he is swearing or cursing, we think that he's probably giving a dua or making a dua or reciting Quran or something like that. So there was one instance where the Imam was making dua. And the dua that he was making, even though he was making a dua from Quran, but the dua was in fact the dua of Ibrahim alayhi salam, where he said, رَبَّنَا وَابْعَثْ فِيهِمْ رَسُولًا مِّنْهُمْ. O Allah, O our Rabb, send a messenger from among these people. And people were saying, Ameen. Now, I'm trying to understand what is being said. The dua is that, oh Allah, send a messenger from among these people. And people are saying, Ameen. So which new messenger is going to come? Which prophet is he asking for? So the Imam didn't understand what he's saying, and the people definitely didn't understand what the Imam had said. And we are basically tuned into the dua, and we are, in our system it is built that every time the Imam says Allahumma something or Rabbana something, we say Ameen. We don't understand. Many of us who don't speak Arabic language, who don't understand Arabic language, so no matter what the Imam is saying, what we basically do is once he stops, we say Ameen. We didn't know what he said. We didn't know what he prayed for. But once he stops, at any word, we will say Ameen. Even if it doesn't make any sense. So, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Hum min jildatina wa yatakallamuna bi alsinatina." They will look like us and they will speak our language, Arabic. قُلْتُ فَمَا تَأْمُرُنِي إِنْ أَدْرَكَنِي ذَلِكَ. Now comes the important part. Hudhayfah bin Yaman radiyallahu anhu said, Ya Rasulullah, what do you advise me to do if that time comes to me, if I live till that time? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, تَلْزَمُ جَمَاعَةَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ وَإِمَامَهُمْ. The first option is if there is a proper group of Muslims, that refers to the ulama, proper ulama. If there is a proper leadership of ulama and proper group of Muslims, meaning the mainstream of Islam, not just a sect, but a mainstream of Islam, which is known as Siwadul A'dam, the majority of Muslims. So if there is a mainstream right majority of Muslims, then stick with them, and if they have a leader, follow that leader. So Hudayfa bin Yaman said, فَإِن لَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُمْ جَمَاعَةٌ وَلَا إِمَامٌ. If there is no jama'ah and there is no imam, what should I do? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, فَاعْتَزِلْ تِلْكَ الْفِرَقَ كُلَّهَا. Stay away from all the sects, because there will be one sect saying we're right, another sect saying we're right, another sect saying we're right. Every sect will say we're right. So in that case, in that tug of war, what should you do? Stay away from all the sects. Just stick to the basics of Quran and the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and stay away from all the fitna, stay away from all the trials, and you will be safe. وَلَوْ أَن تَعَضَّ بِأَصْلِ شَجَرَةٍ حَتَّى يُدْرِكَكَ الْمَوْتِ. This is a reference that even if you have to live on the basics of your life, and you have to leave the city, leave the town, leave the people, and settle in a place far away from people, do that, because that will be the safe option for you, and that will be the right choice for you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to practice upon the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ameen wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Any questions? سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. اللهم صل وسلم على عبدك ورسولك. اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد تحت صلواتك بعدد معلوماتك. اللهم إنا نسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى. اللهم إنا نسألك العفو والعافية والمعافاة الدائمة في الدين والدنيا والآخرة. اللهم حبب إلينا الإيمان وزينه في قلوبنا، وكره إلينا الكفر والفسوق والعصيان، واجعلنا من الراشدين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم، وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.